So hi, welcome everybody to this week's video of RBX Excel videos. This week I'm gonna tell you all about the basics of functions in Excel. It's basically a starter guide for using functions in Excel. If you like the video, please give it a like and don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you want to see more of my videos. Enjoy watching. This video is basically a starter guide for you to get started with using functions in Excel. And in this video, I'm going to explain all the basics about using functions in Excel. Well, functions always start with an equal sign. That is to inform Excel you are typing a function and not just a text. Well, in the function there are different arguments and Excel needs these arguments to calculate the right thing. And when it needs multiple arguments, you can separate them with a semicolon, or in the American version of Excel, a comma. Well, I have an example here how a function looks. It always starts, like I said, with an equal sign. After that you type the function name. After the function name you type your opening bracket. You type your arguments. When multiple, separate them with a semicolon or a comma in the American version. And after that close your function with a closing bracket. Well, when we apply that to a VLOOKUP function, it will look like this. An equal sign to start your function. VLOOKUP is the function name. Your opening bracket, which means the arguments are coming after that. The 1 for the lookup value, B15 to C18 for the table array. The 2 for the column which contains your result. And the false means we want an exact match. We close our function with a closing bracket, and so is your VLOOKUP function look like. Well, I'm gonna make a function here in this cell, and I'm gonna tell you all about it. It will be a VLOOKUP function. I'm gonna look for the name which belongs to the number in front. So I'm gonna look for number 1, and I want the corresponding name. So I'm gonna type my equal sign to inform Excel. I'm gonna type a function. After that, my function name comes up, which is VLOOKUP. Excel already suggests it. I type an opening bracket to start entering my arguments. And this is something nice from Excel. Excel tells you in which part of the function you are working. I open my function with my opening bracket, my VLOOKUP function, and Excel tells me it needs a lookup value. All the arguments are named here in this little box here. And my lookup function is bold, which means I need to type my lookup function here. So I'm going to look for the number 1. So I type just 1, type a semicolon to go to the next argument, and you see the table array becomes bold. My table array will be these cells, another semicolon, and now it needs a column index number, which is bold. My result is in the second column, so I type a 2, and my last argument is the range lookup. This is false, and this is also what I want to show you. You see the range lookup is between square brackets. Square brackets means this argument is optional. You can leave this empty, and when left empty, Excel will take a default for this argument. Well, in the VLOOKUP function, the default for range lookup is true. So it will look for an approximate match. Well, in this case, I want an exact match. So I can just type in false, or I can just click here on false, double click. And after entering this last argument, I can close my function with a closing bracket. Just press enter and I see the corresponding name to the number 1 is Henry. Well, you can also use text in a function. When I gonna enter another VLOOKUP, and in this case it's the other way around, I want to look for the value Henry and I want the corresponding number. So I'm gonna look for a text in this table. Text is always between quotation marks. To inform Excel, this is just a text. And when we gonna make the same VLOOKUP function the other way around, so look for the name and search for the corresponding number, we're gonna type our VLOOKUP again. Start with the equal sign, type the function name, which is VLOOKUP. Excel already suggests it. I can click double. My opening bracket is already typed. My first argument, which is indicated by Excel, is the lookup value, and I want to look for a text. So I start with the double quotation marks. I type Henry, and I'm going to end also with the double quotation marks. A semicolon to go to the table array, which is this table in this case. Another semicolon to go to my column index number, which is 2. My result is in the second column. Another semicolon to go to the range lookup. And again, I can double click on false, but I can also just type false. Close my function with the closing bracket, press enter, and I see the corresponding number to Henry is 1. I can show you what happens when I leave the quotation marks away, and it gives just an error message. So you see, I need to use these double quotation marks for text in a function. Well, you can also use cell references in a function, and I'm gonna explain you this by using this example which we already made, the VLOOKUP, to look for the number 1 and return the corresponding name. You see, in this function I just used the 1. When I want to make a cell reference, I can just remove this 1 and click on the cell where you want to refer to. So just click on this cell, which is E15, and now you made a reference to E15. It will look for the value in E15, which is 1 in this case. So it needs to return again Henry as my result. And you can also see this E15 is colored blue, and in my sheet this is also colored blue, and the range is colored red, and the range is also colored red here. So that is an easy way to see your cell reference in a quick way. And when I replace the 1 for the cell reference E15, I can just press enter, and you see again my result is Henry. But what happens when I change this cell to a 3? It just results Joe, which corresponds to the 3. So this is the advantage of a cell reference. Well, you can also make cell references to other sheets or other workbooks. Well, I'm already showed you how you made a cell reference in the same sheet, but I'm gonna enter a function here. The is sum function equal signs. Sum is the name of the function. Type my opening bracket, and I'm gonna go to sheet 2. I'm gonna select these cells to sum, a closing bracket, and press enter. You see the sum of the numbers is here, and you see sheet 2 is named in my function. A reference to another sheet is always the name for the sheet with an exclamation mark behind it. And I can even make a reference to another workbook. I delete this function and I type another one, equal sign, sum, opening brackets, and I'm gonna go to book 1. And I'm gonna select these cells to sum, my closing bracket, press enter, and we are going to take a look at this function. You see book1.xlsx is placed between square brackets. The sheet is also named in it with an exclamation mark, and after that the array is typed. So this is how Excel visualizes a reference to another workbook in the function. Well, you can see what happens when I close my other workbook. It is now an open workbook. When I go to this workbook, I just save this one, close it, and when I take a look at my function, Excel automatically changed it to the full path of the workbook. The full path, the name of the workbook, and the sheet within the workbook. So when you make a reference to a closed workbook, this is how Excel will visualize it in a function. You can also make a reference absolute, and I will show you how to do that. I have a VLOOKUP function in this cell, and you see this is the reference for the lookup value, and this is the reference for the table array. What I can do when I select this cell, I can just fill this down to the cell beneath by taking the plus sign on the right down corner and drag it down. And now I'm gonna take a look at my function. You see the E15 has become E16, and my reference to my table array also moved one cell down because I dragged my function one cell down. Well, this is not what we want in this case. We want the table array to stay the same while we drag this function down. How can we prevent Excel from doing that? I'm gonna go back to my original function. I'm gonna go in my formula bar, and the reference to the table array B15 to C18, I'm gonna put my cursor in B15. I'm gonna press F4 on my keyboard, and you see Excel is placing dollar signs in front of the B and in front of the 15. I can do the same with the C18. Just press F4 when your cursor is in the reference. You can also just type the dollar signs, but F4 is a short key to do this a little more quickly. I can press enter now, and I can again drag my function down one cell. I can select my function, and you will see the reference to the lookup value has moved one cell down. Well, that's what I wanted. And my table array, my reference to my table array stayed the same. And that's because of the dollar signs we added to our reference. We made it absolute, so it doesn't change when copying or dragging down a function. Well, and you will understand I typed a dollar sign in front of the B and the 15. When you only want the column or the row to be absolute, you can also use one dollar sign just in front of the row or in front of the column. Well, the last thing I want to show you is that you can also use a wizard to insert your function. When I just delete my function here, I can click on the FX button, insert function button on my formula bar, press it, and I can search for a function. I can search VLOOKUP, for example. Go. Well, this is my VLOOKUP function. I can select it, press OK, and I have a wizard to fill out all the arguments. My lookup value is the 1. I can just type it, click in my sheet to make the reference. I'm going to go to my table array, which is this array. My column index number is a 2, and my range lookup is false. Just press OK, and you see Excel created the same function we already did. So that is how you can use the wizard Excel has for inserting a function. So that was my video about the basics of functions. I hope you learned a lot of this video. Please hit the subscribe button if you want to see more of my videos, and if you like the video, please give it a like. See you next time. Thanks for watching.